There's this thread that runs through, like whether it's Eastbound Down, Vice Principals, Righteous Gemstones, which is, you've said they're kind of screwed up Don Quixotes. They're on this quest. And I think one of the things that makes Don Quixote and that kind of comedy or character so compelling to me is that the character fully believes it.
Mm-hmm.
The character is completely invested in what they're doing. And I thought it was really interesting that you made the decision that in the Righteous Gemstones, the Gemstones are not con men. They are making a ton of money off of this, and it's a great business, and they'll do what they have to do to grow this. But at their core, they believe.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's essential. It has to be that way.
It has to be. I think it's what allows you to still make them feel like no matter how far into outer space the comedy might go, that there's somewhere you can kind of get back down to planet Earth by the end and kind of like have a chance to make it touching or to make somebody feel something real in it. We kind of learned that when we were writing Eastbound. I remember when we pitched it, we were so enamored with just Kenny Powers being such a shithead and treating everyone so terribly, and that was making us laugh. And then there became this moment where we were like, what would make him more interesting is if he was actually good at this, and it's not like he's just a joke. Like if he actually had talent, and part of the tragedy is he squandered it.
Yep.
I remember that being like a breakthrough because that wasn't part of our initial pitch. It was like, yeah, he flamed out, but the idea that he was really talented and he had something there that's part of why he's overstretching so much is that he's like squandered something that was in him that he kind of abused. And I don't know, it just was a eye-opener that like, you can make jokes with these characters, but if you can kind of like actually give them something real under there to struggle with, it just ends up giving you more room to play.
Yeah, and it actually makes the jokes
better,
funnier. When I was at The Simpsons, I remembered all I was interested in was coming up with really funny ideas for stories and really funny lines for characters. That's all I cared about, and good visuals. And I thought of myself as, I don't really care about story arc and stuff like that. I just want to be the hot gun in the room. I want to be, I want to come up with the stuff that's really going to be great and cutting edge, whatever. And I remember getting talked to about, it was explained to me by Mike Reese and Al Jean. They said, that it's really important to James L. Brooks and to Matt Groening and to Sam Simon. The thing that makes this work is that it's a family and they all love each other. Mm-hmm. And I remember at the time being whatever I was, 24, thinking, what? That's so lame.
Did they just watch The Goonies?
Yeah. I mean, but I remembered.
It's pornographic.
I remembered. Yeah, it's possible. It's completely pornographic. Yeah, I just didn't understand that at all. But I went with it, and then later on realized that you don't have a show if Homer doesn't care if Bart dies.
Yeah.
If he's that level of, yes, Homer does lots of incredibly stupid things, but he does care about his family. If he's a sociopath, you don't have a show.
Yep.
And if none of them, if they're all sociopaths, you don't have a show. And that's the kind of stuff that my old writing partner, Greg Daniels, who's done a million great shows, Office, Parks and Recreation, and just to name a few, but he was so good at, he's funny, he can come up with really funny stuff, but he also knows that you have to care about these people as people. And I think that was one of the revelations that Steve Carell was so brilliant at.
Totally.
Which is he's being such an asshole. He's so misreading the room. He's so not doing his job, but you know that he's a good person at heart.
Totally.
And that is such a hard thing to do. And I think that was one of those things that resonates with me when I watch your work is I care about you. I care about the characters you're playing because you've invested them with that. Even if they're pretty awful.
Pretty terrible.
Yeah.
I love that. And I love like working with actors that get that, like Edie Patterson, who plays my sister on the show. I met her on Vice Principals and instantly saw that with her, that like not only can she just deliver insane punchlines, that are completely lunacy. But like she has the chops to like make you care too, and to hurt your feelings or to make you kind of want more for her. And I think the moment we started messing around with that kind of stuff, it just like that became what a little bit of the pull was with all the comedy. It's like, how can we surprise people by being so foul, and then weirdly underneath it all, there's like something that might resonate with people.
It's a family, and they do care about each other. They live in this insane situation.
Exactly. They're gangsters.
Yeah. They're gangsters who believe that what they're doing is righteous.
Yeah. That was what was kind of crazy even starting the show, is that, I moved down to Charleston, South Carolina with my family about almost like 8 years from ago, and I wasn't really sure what I was going to write next. And once I was there, I saw a lot of the churches there, and I was like on every other radio station is like a religious station. And, I went to church when I was a kid. My family was pretty religious, and it just got me thinking, like, what is church like now? And so I started like kind of doing research on these mega churches, and it just kind of instantly seemed like it was something that would be in one of our worlds. Like the idea of like these people kind of seeing themselves as a celebrity and being, big shots, and just the idea of saying one thing, meaning another. It just felt like it was right for what we wanted to do. But then I would look at stuff that tackles religion, and I always kind of I couldn't think of anything that I really liked that had done that. Really, I was like, it's, there's something about it that is usually too cynical, or it's just bashing on people's faith. And I don't know, it just didn't seem like it was something that I wanted to do. And so, when we started writing that show, it was sort of like one of our mantras was like, these guys believe, and the butt of the joke is never what their belief is. It's just them. They're the butt of the joke. Their hypocrisy is what's funny, and not like what they believe in. And everybody on board the show got down with that. They were all that was sort of like what everyone kind of followed. And it'd be interesting because you oftentimes would see stuff. People would come with things, whether it's production design or anything that might push things too much. Like, I think the joke here is that it's Jesus, and maybe that's like not where we should get the joke from. It should get the thought process behind someone, is more funny than just cheap shots, I guess.
Yeah, you don't want to be punching down. You don't want to be, and it is a world where, yes, you don't want to be making fun of the faith. You want to be looking at these people, which it is a family. They live on this ridiculous compound. I'm a big Walton Goggins fan, and I'm curious how you two came together. I know you were on Vice Principals.
Yeah, Walton, I had seen Walton in The Shield, and Walton came in and read for Eastbound. I think it was the third season, and we ended up casting Sudeikis in that role. Mm-hmm. He was like Kenny Powers' best friend, but it was just, not because Walton didn't do a good job reading, but it was just like, I think we already had our mindset on Sudeikis, but Walton just stuck in my brain forever after that. When he came in, I was like, God damn, that guy was so funny when he, and so unexpected. And I had bumped into him a few other times through the years. And then when I wrote Vice Principals, he just came to my mind that he was, that I would like to spend some time with him. And I felt like this was a side that he hadn't really shown people. And in all of his work, there's a comedic undertone to all of it. He's just naturally funny. And so, it was just kind of awesome. I sent him that script, the pilot, and he called me back later on that afternoon and was just like doing the Lee Russell voice, which is the character he played in Vice Principals. It was like, this is going to be fun.
He was here. He did the podcast, and do you remember this? He came, and I think he was flying back and forth a lot to Thailand for White Lotus at the time, and so he was tired, and I remember I came in, and his people said, Walton just needs to sleep for 25 minutes, and then he'll be okay to do the podcast. So he was in that room that I just saw you in, and there's a couch there, and he just lay down like a vampire. And like put his hands over his chest and instantly went out and slept for exactly 25 minutes. And then came, and then they like reactivated reactivate Goggins, and he like sat up, and he came in, and he was great in the podcast, and then probably said, now I need 17 minutes.